The Frog Life Cycle by Crystal Lambert. Human babies look a lot like miniature adults, but this is not true for all animals. The frog, for example, goes through metamorphosis. The tadpole that hatches from a frog egg does not resemble the frog that we are used to seeing hopping around our yard at night. The frog life cycle begins with an egg. Female frogs lay their eggs in water or in wet, damp places. The eggs form a floating mass that is called a frog spawn. Large masses of frog eggs are difficult to eat, giving them protection from predators. The frog spawn must remain in water. Without water, the eggs will dry out and die. The cells inside of each egg come together to form an embryo. As the embryo grows, the organs and gills begin to form. The embryo lives off of the internal yolk found within the egg. The yolk can feed the embryo for 21 days. After 21 days, the embryo leaves its jelly shell behind and attaches itself to a weed in the water, where it quickly becomes a tadpole. The tadpole feeds on tiny plants called algae. The tadpole lives in water and depends entirely on its camouflage for protection. After about 5 weeks, the tadpole begins to change. Hind legs begin to grow, and forelegs will soon follow. The tadpole's tail grows smaller, just as its lungs begin to develop. The tadpole is getting ready to live on land. It will even begin to come to the surface for the occasional gulp of air. As the tadpole's legs grow longer, its tail begins to shrink even further. The tadpole uses food stored in its tail to survive during this time. Its new legs make swimming very difficult. Our tadpole is getting ready to complete its journey in the water. "11 weeks after the egg was laid, a fully developed young frog emerges from the water. The frog has fully developed lungs and legs. The tail has completely disappeared. Our young frog will now live mostly on land, with just the occasional swim in the water. The young frog will hunt for insects and worms instead of living off of plant matter and algae. Within no time at all, our young frog friend becomes an adult. He will begin to search for a mate. Once his mate is found, the frog life cycle will be able to continue." To recap, the life cycle of a frog begins with eggs, which form embryos, which later turn into tadpoles. The tadpoles then grow front legs and back legs and begin to develop functioning lungs. Soon the tail begins to shrink as the legs grow longer and longer until finally a young frog hops out of the water. This young frog begins to hunt for worms and insects and finally becomes an adult. The adult frog starts the cycle all over again as they find a mate. This film was directed and narrated by Crystal Lambert.